Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Try to actually watch you try to take my moves now. I'm trying to take my moves. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Music Lovers LPD. This, of course, is another venture where we talk to some of the legends, some of the people who made this music happen. This is a time where we go backstage and talk to the folks about what they do and how they do it. Tonight, our guest is Mr. Ashley Scott. And you've heard me talk about him. Him and I have been friends for quite some time. He comes from great lineage in the musical industry from Philadelphia. His aunt is the legendary Helen Scott from the 3 Degrees. Ashley has stepped, and I put this up on Facebook earlier this week. He stepped out of that shadow and made is making one of his own. So we're going to hear from Ashley tonight talking about his music, talking about how he feels about things. Matter of fact, I don't have to pose these questions. Let me just get started. Ash, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It's good to see you, my brother. It's good to see you, man. Great to see you. What's going on? Everything's good?
Everything is good. Just trying to have a great year. Got some new music coming. I got one out right now and 6 more coming. I'm sorry, 7 more. So just getting ready to release a good body of work.
Fantastic. Now, explain to us, because we're looking at you. What is Howard University doing in the background? Talk to us about that.
That's my alma mater. So, we have a high school pride, and, I keep it with me everywhere I go. So I use that as a background.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, since we're a couple of our folks are under the weather, as you heard me say earlier, but we still got the gang here. We're going to press on with the show anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back out and let everybody introduce themselves and then come with their own comments and questions. And we're going to start this talk here. Ash, it's always good to see you, and I'm glad to have you. And I'm saving mine for a little bit later. Okay. Drew, you want to start us off? Go ahead, my brother.
Hey, Ashley, my name is Drew, man. It's good to have you on our podcast. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Prior to what's coming on, man, I've been grooving on your discography for the last hour. You have quite a pedigree, sir, as an independent artist, man. So I have to give you major props, man. I'm surprised I haven't heard of you sooner. I'm embarrassed to say. But some of your singles are very, very tight, man. I love them, man. You're the master of that mid-tempo groove, man. Together, the thought of you, I am digging them fully, brother.
Thank you.
Fully. Okay, so you mentioned Howard University, and you worked with some jazz greats and some gospel greats while you were at Howard, namely Grady Tate, Clark Sisters. And then I see here in research, you eventually ended up with one of my favorite smooth jazz singers in Will Downey. Can you talk about that association, how that came to be?
It all ties in together, which is a good part of my story. Being at Howard was the best decision I ever made. Meeting long friends and having the experiences that I did. My professor at Howard was a jazz keyboardist. His name was Webster Lewis. He actually had 4 albums in the 70s on his own when he was signed to CBS Records. I actually did one of his albums here at Sigma, and the Sweeties actually did some background vocals on those records with him. He was also Barry White's conductor for Love Unlimited, and actually did an album with that orchestra. Wow. Welcome Aboard. And so Webster was a genius of a producer. He's worked with the Jacksons. He produced Looking Up to You by Michael Wyckoff in 1981 as well. And so back in the 90s, he was doing session work, and Will Downing hired him to produced the string arrangements on Will Downing's arrangement of another Philly classic, "I Don't Want to Lose You" by the Spinners.
Yes.
And so Webster did that string arrangement and brought Will to the school to lecture to us, and he actually sat in on a studio session we did in New York. And so that was when I first met him. I actually went to one of his shows on campus a few weeks later, and just kept seeing him throughout life, and he remembered who I was. And we got to be in touch on email, and about maybe, I guess, about maybe 12 years ago, 2014 actually, so 11 years ago, I happened to reach out, and he was working on a project. He said, "I need this type of work." I said, "Oh, I could do it," and he hired me on his team, and he's been a friend, mentor, closer than ever since. I'm still working with him to this very moment. And he actually helped me get my start recording my original stuff. So he helped me produce my first single, Words, in terms of recording the vocals.
It shows.
And he co-wrote my second single, which became my first international hit, "Dance the Night Away."
Yeah, love that tune.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Cool. Well connected, brother. Good question there, Drew. Good question. We'll be back at you in a minute. Lamar, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Good evening. This is Lamar. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't the Blackbirds go to Howard University?
yes, our alumni list is longer than than Broad Street.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but they did go there. Who else? Obviously Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway are some of the most famous. Richard Smallwood, the group Shy, Angela Winbush, Tawatha Ag from Umtume, Pure Soul, Eric Roberson, who's a current friend of mine, and we went to school together. Who else? Cy Smith, another independent artist out of Dallas named Gino Young. He actually is musical director for Erykah Badu as well. So many of us, and I'm forgetting some people, but forgive me.
Yeah, the list is long, bro. The list is very long. This is very long. I'm gonna reach back to you, Ash, because I would love to get Pure Soul on this show. I would love to get them. I don't know if you have any contacts or whatever, but I'll get back to you on that later.
Yes,
I'll get back to you with that later.
Okay.
They do a heck of a job on that Stairway to Heaven. Heck of a job on that. Okay, Mar, good question. Let me go to Diane. Go ahead, Diane.
Good evening, Mr. Scott. My name is Diane, and I read on your bio that you sang with. You were with the Hawkins, Walter and Edwin Hawkins. Excuse me. And you sang background with Gene Carn as well?
Okay, so back when I was at Howard, I was a member of the Howard Gospel Choir. And so the Howard Gospel Choir has a very rich legacy. Some of the people I already named, Pure Soul, Angela Winbush, Richard Smallwood, were all members. Howard happens to be probably one of the most sought out choirs by gospel artists when they have to play the DC area. Ooh. So when I first came in the choir I came in the choir at the time that they released a CD on Al Bell's gospel label called Bellmark Records back in the 90s. And so our label mates at that time were Edwin and Walter Hawkins. So we did a Black Expo event in Baltimore. And so the Hawkins were performing, but we as a choir backed them up.
Okay.
And the same thing for if artists came to do the gospel homecoming show. Hence, that's why I have Dorinda Clark down there, because we backed her up. So it was instances like that where I was able to kind of, back people up. But that was through the Howard Gospel Choir. With Jean Carn, I met her. She came to lecture at Howard my freshman year through Webster Lewis and Khalif Gamble, Kenny Gamble's son. We were at Howard at the same time my freshman year. So Jean is the godmother of all of Kenny Gamble and Deanna Williams' children. So I met Jean my freshman year, and then ended up the Delphonics are like uncles to me. So Wilbert Hart played DC one year, and I met a keyboard player that was working with him who also happened to be the musical director for Gene Carn. And so that relationship just, developed from there. So Gene is like family as well. And so a couple times I added some oohs and ahs on stage because she didn't have a whole lot of vocalists. My friend was playing keyboards and, just singing most of her background parts. So I would occasionally get up on his mic and help him out with some harmonies. And in 2006, I produced a show at Warm Daddy's it was actually at the BEMA event in 2006.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And there was a book that came out on Phyllis Hyman at the time, and so I produced a Phyllis Hyman tribute with Charlene Holloway, myself, and Gene Carn at Warm Daddy's that night. And I sang some background on some of the songs that she sang for that night.
Fantastic. Well, I tell you, talking about somebody all around, they got their hands in all kinds of pots over there. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Especially the more people that you meet, the more people you rub elbows with. That's a real good thing. Let me ask you something, Ash. What is your let me say this. What do you feel is your strong suit? Meaning that, are you a better out front singer, or do you think you're a better background singer?
I know how to do both.
Okay.
I want to say that. We all have our thing that we love. Like, I love arranging music. I love arranging harmonies. I like singing with people. Obviously, growing up with two groups in my family, both a male and female, that's what I ultimately wanted, but didn't know how hard it was and what they all went through personally because I was too young to know growing up. Right. However, I like singing with people. I like, recording my own music, and I'm loving the moment that I'm in right now, just releasing my own music and singing things that I come up with creatively, come into commerce and birthing, great songs or good songs. So I like a little bit of both.
Okay. I know that you have deep experience in both, and I know that you like to be. I just wanted to hear your opinion on where you felt you fit better or what you like better, that type of thing. Not where you fit, but what you like better.
Yeah, I like being I like singing with people, but I also like, being a solo artist as well. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about your. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Even on stage, I try to have background singers with me because of course, I need the extra support. I can't sing everything myself, but
right.
I like the harmonies and the arrangements. So I like with them as well and blending with them. So I come in and out of the harmonies with them as well. So I like both.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about your new project that you have going on and what your aspirations are for that. Go ahead, Ash, please.
So I'm working on a 8-song project to be released this year. I just released one song strategically and intentionally for this month. I tapped back into my traditional jazz roots, and I was singing jazz when I was at Howard, and kind of fell out of it after school. I mean, I do a lot of private affairs in terms of if you want to jokingly call me the wedding singer locally. So, you have to do some jazz songs like Fly Me to the Moon and Where You Look Tonight. But that was about the most I've been doing, a little bit of New York, maybe Cheek to Cheek, that kind of thing, mostly Sinatra. But I haven't really dived deeper into the other standards that I used to hear back in the day. So during the pandemic, I was on Clubhouse and I was in a lot of rooms where people were playing jazz. And I'm like, I haven't heard Misty in a long time, or I haven't heard Tanisha, or, just those great standards. And I said to myself, I want to write a jazz song, and I came up with a bass line, and the bass line ended up becoming the melody. And I wanted to kind of go against the grain of what most people are talking about musically with their freedom of speech, more so in mainstream music. And I wanted to write a song that was a salute to Black women. So the song is called Beautifully Made. And I just, again, wanted to go against the grain because everything on mainstream radio, women are, made out to be nighttime garden tools and just, bad connotation toward them.
Yeah.
So
to
kind of go against the grain and do something positive and hopefully have something that would stand out. Of course, in one of the most oldest forms of Black music, which is free forms of Black music, meaning jazz.
Mm-hmm.
The song's called Beautifully Made. It'll be available on the digital platforms on February 21st, but it's available right now on my website. So ashleyscottmusic.com, and people can kind of get it directly from me. I did post it to my YouTube channel as well, which is Ashley Scott Music. And the video is a slideshow of iconic women from Michelle Obama to Aretha Franklin to Coretta Scott King to the Supremes, Gladys Knight, 3 Degrees, Jasmine Crockett, Kamala Harris, etc., etc.
That's good stuff, man. That's really good stuff. And I thank you for sharing that. I don't want to take the whole mic because I got some more questions for you, but I see Lamar's looking interesting, so I'm gonna pass it over to Lamar. Go ahead, Lamar.
My question, where did you grow up and who did you grow up around?
I grew up in Mount Airy with both my parents, both sides of my family. Again, my dad's sister is Helen Scott of the 3 Degrees, so I grew up around her and constantly listening to her albums from the 70s and 80s, watching videos of them performing overseas because they didn't really perform in America when I was growing up. My mom grew up in West Philly on 55th and Media on the same block as the Delphonics. So Randy Kane's mother and my grandmother were best friends. So Fuji, Randy, and Wilbert were like the brothers that my mother and her sisters never had. And so they became like the adopted uncles to me. So.
Okay.
Cool. Good question, Mark. Go ahead, Drew.
Actually, is Will Downing involved in your latest project?
Will Downing. So the upcoming songs the upcoming album, he did help me record one of the songs in his studio, but he didn't creatively write a song. Coming up on this upcoming project, I do have a song with Najee playing flute on one of the records. I did have 2 songs produced by Frank McComb. I don't know if you know who Frank McComb is.
Yes.
The best description I can give you of Frank McComb is I'm going to do it in a sci-fi kind of way. So if you put Stevie Wonder in a tube, right, and you put Donny Hathaway in another tube, and you cosmically take everything from their brain to make a super soulful human cyborg, that is Frank McComb.
That's a hell of a description.
Well, I don't want to say another way, and I don't want to go down another alley. So we're gonna keep it cosmic.
All right, that's a hell of a description. All right, good question, Drew. Diane, go ahead, babe.
Okay, it says that you run an R&B educational program.
Yes, I'm working on a program to kind of hopefully teach on a college level as well, and I'm trying to write a book around that as well. But I was doing tribute shows in Philadelphia before they got to be the end thing. My friend and I, we were doing once a month tribute shows at Warm Daddies at one point, and the show was called the Soulful Sound Series. So I kind of kept that brand to kind of also teach R&B and Black music courses. I'm kind of it's in development still. I do have like a kind of a syllabus, if you will. But I need to kind of bring it more so online versus because it's hard to get into universities and introduce a class like that because their curriculum is already established.
Yeah, I was lucky to get into Temple for a few minutes, and I had my class there for 2 semesters. It was really that, but the thing that knocked me out was COVID. And I'm old fashioned. I like to go. This new technology here where you're sitting at home and you know what I mean, you're teaching. That's okay, I guess, but I'm old fashioned. I like to be in the classroom, touching and feeling and that type of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So anyway, Ash.
Yes.
What made you growing up with the music that was around you? And I'm talking about the Delphonics and Aunt Helen and all of the music that was around you. What made you go down the path of jazz?
Well, again, I did jazz in college. So when I got to Howard, it was either you can sing jazz or classical, and so jazz was the closest thing we could get to R&B. I would classify my music as R&B maybe borderline smooth jazz because I've collaborated with a few instrumentalists. On my song "Don't Throw Our Love Away," the saxophonist is a guy named Elin Trotman, who's pretty prominent in the smooth jazz field. So that's what I would kind of classify my music as. But this particular song, "Beautifully Made," is definitely a traditional jazz song, and it was definitely something that I challenged myself to compose. And
Okay.
I'm very happy with what we came up with, because it doesn't sound like it was made in 2024. It definitely sounds like it was made in the 1950s.
Okay. 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 Listening to excuse me, listening to Beautifully Made took me back, and I discussed this. Well, I said this to you before, but I'm going to say it now over the air, to Drew and Mar and Diane. It took me back to Chester when I was a youngster, and my dad was a heavy jazz listener, and I'm talking about people like Gloria Lynn, Nancy Wilson, Art Blakely. He was into the heavy, Miles Davis, the heavy jazz, if you will, but he did like singers. And what he would do is, like on Friday nights or Saturday nights when him and mom and him wasn't going out, he would get him a big glass of either ice water or Kool-Aid and sit in the front room with the lights out. The lights had to be out. And he would put on his jazz and just sit there and listen. So if you walk in the house is dark, you hear the music. And my father was a dark man, so you couldn't even see him in there. You know what I mean? But that's what he did. But this song that Ashley did, that's where it immediately took me back to that time and that listening era. Back immediately there. So I guess my comment is, there are not too many young jazz artists who perform like that. And actually, I think if there's a jump to be made, you've got to jump on them already by doing what I consider the old listening type jazz as to what you're doing now.
Yeah, well, thank you. And there are a few people out there doing it. There's a young lady, she just won her second Grammy this year. Her name is, if you haven't heard of her, Samara Joy. She is amazing vocally. She won Best New Artist, I think, the previous year, and she won I think either Best Jazz Vocal or one of the categories this year. I think she won 2 awards, and she has done a lot of standards. She even did Nancy Wilson, Guess Who I Saw Today, on her last
great song.
Yes.
Nancy Wilson is my all-time favorite. So but yeah, so Samara Joy, Gregory Porter's doing some things. Will Downing does some standards occasionally. We're missing Rochelle Farrell right now. Hopefully she, will come back at some point. But yeah.
I have to agree with you. Nancy Wilson is absolutely great, but I have to be a little bit partial. My favorite is Gloria Lynn. That's my favorite. That was my dad's favorite, so I have to go with that one. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's move over here. Diane, go ahead, baby. You got something?
Let me see. Now, it says that you were a board member and vice president of the Recording Academy of Philadelphia at one time.
Yes.
Are you still that, or are you not any longer?
I'm still a member of the Academy, and the Recording Academy is the organization that puts on the Grammy Awards. But I'm not on the board anymore. I've been on the board for some time. I did serve as vice president of the chapter in 2016 to 2017. And I was a board member in between, I would say, 2012 and 2020.
Okay. Yeah. Good question, Guy. Come on in, Drew.
Yeah, Ashley, I also read that you once performed for Bill Clinton at the White House. Could you talk a little bit about that?
So I was just talking about that the other day to someone. Back when I was in college with the Howard Gospel Choir, we were asked to perform at the Department of Agriculture for an unveiling portrait of former Secretary of Agriculture Mike Espy. I think that was his name. And Bill Clinton was in attendance, and I had never went through so much security in my life. It was around the time of the whole Monica Lewinsky scandal. So we kind of, as a choir, we stood off to the side, and they said, people, it was more like a press situation for the unveiling. And so, they kind of said, okay, choir, we want you to minister, and we understand that's what you guys do, but, You're really here to be a distraction if anybody asks a question about Monica Lewinsky. So if anybody does, just start singing.
Wow. Wow.
Oh man, that's funny.
Nobody got out of pocket, but we did start singing, and he did come over and shake our hands and everything. So that was an honor.
But that wasn't at the White House. That was another.
Yeah, that was at the Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
Wow, that's a great story. That's a great story,
Yes,
Ash. That's a great story. That's a really good one. Go ahead, Mar.
How did you meet Ali?
How did I meet who?
Ali.
Oh, so I got my start on the business side of music. And so when I was in college, my first year home after freshman year, I had a friend of the family that worked for the city of Philadelphia. And so she said, okay, because I used to work for the Department of Recreation in high school, being a camp counselor. So when I came home for the summer, she said, you're not going to be at the day camps this year. You're going to learn the business. So I'm sending you to a place where you're going to learn about all aspects of the business. And that place was the Del East.
Okay.
So every year we were having a lot of the classic soul artists, and maybe one show a year, this guy, Ali Hackett, would come and be a host with his very golden sweatsuits and everything. He was fly and flashy.
Mm-hmm. Tell it all.
And he said, I'm the king of oldies.
Yep, that
And
is.
I actually went to one of his events around that same time where he honored some other Philadelphians, and he honored one of my aunt's former group mates, Fayette Pinckney, from the 3 Degrees. So I met him there too. So he had a hand in raising me. So he's watched me grow a little bit.
All right.
I'm still young. I'm still young though.
Absolutely. Wow. That was a good question, Mark, because I sort of forgot. I mean, I know it's been on the way. I just didn't remember exactly where, but I mean, I know we've been in each other's company and what have you for quite some time and what have you, you know.
I started out at the Dell on the stage crew for 2 years, and then I actually moved up to the executive staff, and I was working as assistant to the general manager for quite some time there. So I worked under Warren Haskins, who's a good friend of yours.
Good man. Good man.
Yeah.
Good man.
The boss, and Bruce Rush as well. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I used to come in, and I think you hosted maybe the Little Anthony show that Warren.
It was quite a few of them there because I was at WHAT then.
Yeah.
And it was Warren and I were, you know, pretty good.
Yeah.
And a couple summers I did, and then all of a sudden, you know, things changed. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
and
yeah,
that was
go there.
yeah. That was the end of that.
Oh no, I'm not going there on that one.
Yeah, that was the end of that. But those were some really, really, really good times. I think from time to time on the radio show I'll say that I enjoyed doing those shows because my favorite group, one of my favorite groups, was the Dells. I would always close out the show with them. Always.
I just shared a clip of them today on Facebook and said that. I said, I remember when they used to come to the Dell every year.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, they sounded as great as they did to the day that they retired.
Yep.
And I'm still friends with their road manager till this very day. He's a good friend of mine and mentor, and he's actually a recording artist now himself.
Marvin Jr.'s son?
No. His name was Mark Williams.
Oh, okay.
He was their production and road manager, but he was also a singer.
Okay.
And he's recording his own original stuff out now as well. He's from Chicago, but he's based out of Florida right now.
Okay.
And, yeah, but I mean, they were great. I used to have good conversations with Chuck Barksdale.
Oh man, the best, the absolute best.
Yeah,
absolute best. And it just it's so sad looking back. It's only 2 of them left. You know what I mean? It's only 2 of them left. Yeah, it's only 2 of them original. 2 original members left.
I said this to somebody else recently, and I said classic soul is, and I'm saying the 60s and 70s music now for me is getting very emotional because I was blessed to have two groups in my family, but to know so many others and have my own relationships with them,
right,
from either knowing the two groups that are in my family or passing through the venue that I worked at.
okay.
Like I miss Al Goodman from Ray Goodman.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, I miss
yeah.
Indy Poogie and Major Harris like crazy. I wish they were here right now to see what I'm doing.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right.
and hearing all those songs, sometimes I get choked up a little bit. They get
And rightly so. Rightly so.
it's
Rightly
something
so.
it's something about the Delphonics when you get right down to it.
Oh yeah.
When they start saying, "Don't you want to hear the moments again and again?" and I start thinking about them, I have to turn it off because the orchestration of the song is amazing. But
Right.
when I start thinking about them, thinking about the moments,
Yeah.
oh man, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Here comes the flood.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? And I know you're not ashamed of it, Ash, but that's what this music does. And that's one of my reasons for continuing to play this music, because it's in our very fiber. It's the stuff that we actually grew up on, not that we've outgrown. You know what I'm saying? So, and I feel the same way that you do, because you know where I'm leading. I'm getting ready to go into a name now, but this is why I do what we do and why we get together on Friday nights to relive these memories and bring this stuff to other people who tune into our show.
Right.
So please, my brother, anytime, just go ahead and let it out, man. Anytime.
Yeah. I mean, I've been blessed. And,
absolutely. And now, music lovers, Lamar and Drew and Diane, there's one name that I want to talk, and Ashley knows where I'm going with this. On my radio shows for the last, gosh, I don't know, maybe since I was at WHAT or WTNJ, I'm not sure which one, I found this album by this guy named Grady Tate. And I played it, cleaning the house or something or other, whatever. And this one song on here just blew me away. And as far as I know, I'm the only person, and that doesn't mean that, I'm the only one in the world, but I'm saying to you, I'm the only person that I know of that plays this song by Grady Tate, and it's called help me out here, Ash. I just forgot.
I look at my phone for our text messages. You told me.
I just forgot it. Not she's only she's my lady.
Yeah,
she's my lady. She's my lady. And I'm telling you right now, when I read his bio, he sent me his bio. When I read it, and I saw the name Grady Tate, I said, wait a minute. And so I had to call him and ask him. Let's talk about Grady Tate for just a moment, if you would, Ash, please.
For those that don't know, Grady Tate is probably one of the most recorded jazz drummers of all time. He played with Lena Horne, he played with Sinatra, played with Quincy Jones, played with Count Basie, and he's a vocalist as well. He toured, he recorded his own albums, he did a lot of jingle work. I found a clip maybe a few years ago of him performing with Grover Washington Jr. in Pieces of a Dream, because Grover was taking Grady out in place of Bill Withers, to sing Just the Two of Us.
Okay.
And there's a clip of them from Japan, and it's about an 8-minute video of them singing Just the Two of Us, and it's amazing. Grady defines the word cool. The man had dressed as cool as Lamar and Ali mixed together, and Drew with his hat and leather coat. Grady was just the coolest guy. Had swag, he knew every jazz tune in the book, and he was at Howard. He was on faculty, and I had a coach for technique, which was Miss Eichelberger. Webster was more so the ensemble teacher and getting us to blend with others and sing harmonies and things of that nature. And Webster taught the jazz vocal workshop. Grady was the one-on-one vocal coach to help you shape the songs that you were learning at that time. And I was telling Ali this story earlier, that Grady taught me the importance of lyrics and interpreting what you're singing about. and really putting yourself in that song. Whether you've been through it or not, you have to really zone in. And I remember going into his studio one day, and he said, "Okay, man, what song you singing?" I said, "All right, When I Fall in Love." I sang it fine, and I will say that he was very graceful to the female students, but all the guys, he cussed us out like we were on street corner, like road rage, and just, we did something bad. He said, "Okay, man." He said, "Have you ever effing been in love, man?" He said, "Do you know what the SHIT means, man?" He said, "Now sing this stuff," and I'm paraphrasing for the language that he used, and sing this stuff again. So needless to say, that was and Grady used to be in the service too. So that was the drill sergeant, base boot camp. It was vocal boot camp for 45 minutes, and I was getting cussed out left and right. I learned my lesson, and I miss it. I think everybody can kind of say this, in their lifetime, but we just didn't know what we were blessed with when we had it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Good point.
And it's funny, and my aunt even says this a lot as well. People always say, "You started in the beginning of the 3 degrees and you're still there now. What was it like?" And she says, "I don't think we knew what it was going to become when we got into this." You know what I mean? So
right.
And that's just another way of putting that same statement as you look back on your life. But Grady was amazing. He was amazing, and his voice was just amazing. I mean, he didn't belt. He was just he had his tone. He had his own vocal lane, kind of like, say, like a Will Downing. Because when I talk about Will Downing to people, I say, okay, he sings higher than Barry White and lower than Luther Vandross. He's got his own vocal lane, and women still throw the undergarments on stage before the end of the show. And Grady was in that same vein. Grady was in that same baritone range. He could talk it, he could sing it, and he just had a great voice, and he was just a great all-around person.
Now let me just piggyback on one thing, and then I'm gonna move over and let somebody else get in here. Ashley said something, and I'm sure you guys picked it up. I'm talking about Diane Lamar and Drew. I'm sure you picked it up because we've talked about it before. That simply is when Grady cursed Ashley out and asked him, has he ever been in love? You know what I mean? You can't, it's been said to me many, many times by the artist, you can't perform or sing a love song unless you've been in love. Then that love, that feeling, that hurt, that pain comes out of you and goes into the song. You guys heard me talk about Linda Jones, how I feel when she sing, some of her stuff. You've heard me talk about some of the other people that come on, Jerry Butler. It doesn't matter who, but how the pain or how that feeling comes out of them and transfers out of their mouth into the microphone, and it comes in our ears and touches our soul. That's the type of thing, if I'm not mistaken, that Grady Tate was trying to get out of Ashley. Yeah, you can sing Mary Had a Little Lamb. You can sing it 100 times, and it's okay. But unless you had a lamb or Mary, you can't. You understand what I'm saying?
They didn't have a lamb, but yeah. Be careful.
Go ahead, Drew. Go ahead.
Okay. Regarding your singles, Ash, you have some nice videos accompanying some of your previous releases, man. Were you involved with the video production, or did you have somebody designate that to somebody else?
So I have to shout out my director for most of them, and that's Daryl King. Daryl, you may remember Daryl if you ever been to Sound of Market record store when it was in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Daryl was the manager of Sound of Market, but he's also a videographer. Okay. So he helped me do Thought of You and mostly all the videos. I actually started doing the last two. So I did Beautifully Made, and I also did You Remind Me, which is the last one. Because I just wanted to kind of, take a shot at it. I said, all right, I've been watching you, if there's not something that I'm in, then we find stock footage to really paint the picture of the story. So, you know, I try to do that with You Remind Me, and he did that with the lyric videos for like Dance the Night Away and Words and things of that nature. So shout out to Daryl King.
Yeah, those are some nice videos, man. They with the song, and like I said, your singles are very impressive, man.
Thank you.
You're in the rotation. Put it that way. You'll be in my rotation for sure.
We need it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mar.
In this day and time, who would you like to join hands in and sing with?
Good
you know
question.
what?
Good question.
I have to say, in terms of singing with, that's one I have to really think about. But in terms of working with, I have to honestly say that, you know, I have a few more people on my bucket list that I would like to work with, producer wise and even, you know, artists. But right now, for this album that I'm about to release, Frank McComb was definitely high on that list. My friend from Howard, Eric Roberson, co-wrote a song with me. Eric is one of the leading independent R&B male vocalists in the industry right now, right. having done about 15 albums all on his own label and touring the world. And he's just a great entertainer as well. So he co-wrote a song with me. And it's funny, Ali, that particular song that we wrote for the album, it's called Questions. And what I've been doing is, in my writing, trying to find topics or tricks of the trade, if you will, from older songs, and just bringing them into a fresh new idea. So, in thinking about the 3 degrees, obviously everybody knows When Will I See You Again, and every line in that song is a question. So I thought, okay, what can I write a question song? And so we came up with the hook, and I kind of presented him with the idea, because nowadays when you meet someone, you know, whether it's a friend or a romantic interest, I have to be honest, it's like a job interview. You're asking a lot of questions. What's your name? Where you from? Can we go out? What do you like to do? What don't you like? Do you like me?
Right.
My hair? Do you like my outfit? Can we go this way? Everything is a question, so we wrote a question song.
I'm glad I'm retired, Ash.
I mean, but even at a business meeting, if somebody wants to come up and do a radio show, okay, do you know how to play this song? Do you know how to sync that song? Do you know who did this in what year? They give you the album credits. It's like, it's an interview. Everything is a question. So
yeah, pretty much.
We wrote a question song.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Di.
Now with the state of, I guess they call it R&B music now.
Yeah.
I just don't. I can't. You know, I'd rather go and play my old CDs, or, you know, like I used to record Ali on Saturday nights. I go back and play that, because really, I live in Florida. Okay. We got one black station down here. One black station where I live at. Okay. Maybe further, because I live in the high class part of it, you know.
Maybe high class. I like that.
Yeah, you know, further out, like in Jacksonville or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
We got one black station, and it's supposed to be R&B. I don't know what this stuff is they playing, but I can't listen to it. You know, it's really. I mean, it's dated.
I think you have to kind of find your. I think you have to kind of find the artist that you like. I think that there are a lot of contemporary artists like Layla Hathaway, like Lettucey, Avery Sunshine, who just won a Grammy Award.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Avery's from Chester. She's, in some ways, she reminds me of Aretha Franklin, being that she's someone that can play piano and sing at the same time.
Yeah.
You've got Frank McComb, you've got Eric Roberson, you've got so many other people out here. Will Downing still doing his thing. Rasan Patterson, if you don't know who he is.
Yes.
You have to kind of stick with the artists that are, just support those folks and folks that are like them that I'm forgetting, because they're still putting out great music. So kind of find those stations on the internet and kind of stick to that. I think I listen to a lot of stations abroad through the internet. I have an internet radio show that I syndicate to different stations, and I listen to a lot of UK stations. And some of the stuff that they play over there on those stations is just amazing music. And they play a lot of the stuff that we forgot. I discovered a Harold Melvin in the Blue Note song that I had never heard of, and that was done, that Harold did on his own with Mickey Horton. Excuse my sirens going down the street here.
Okay.
I discovered a new Harold Melvin song through this radio station, and I was like, sounded great. It was a great 80s groove. It was, you could tell it's from that time, and I'm sure it didn't get love here, but I even told the current Blue Notes, I said, you might want to, I know y'all don't have a lot of time on these shows that you guys do, but the times that it's solely you might want to add this to your set because it's a good song. I can't remember the name of it right now. I have to go find it.
I was waiting for that too. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Okay. As we talk, I know I messages to my friend Greg, who is their manager, so I could tell you what it's called in a second.
Okay.
It is.
I just like to know from my own knowledge.
Yeah. Yes. Give me a second. It is. It's been a minute since we. Don't give me up.
Don't give me up. Okay.
And it was on Philly World Records.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But Mickey Horton wrote the song with him. Mickey is a artist from Philly. I think he did Gotta Get You Home With Me Tonight. Ooh,
Eugene Wild.
Yes, he did Eugene Wild, and he went on to do some things with Jammin' Lewis as well. Like he wrote Quiet Time to Play for Johnny Gill.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's from Philly.
Okay. All right, we're learning quite a bit here. Some of the stuff that's behind the scenes, if you will. Good question there, Diane. Good question. Drew, what you got?
Ash, do you have any upcoming performances or tours that perhaps we haven't get a chance to see you?
I'm working on getting some dates now. I was asked some dates in December that I had to kind of cancel because I had some health issues. So I will let you guys know. I have something later in September in Atlanta. I make a debut down there as well in Atlanta at St. James Live on September 21st, Earth, Wind, and Fire Day. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'll have some stuff for home very shortly. Just working.
Okay. Yes.
Needless to say, just keep me abreast of what's what, and I'll make sure that everybody, knows what's going on and what have you. I talked to excuse me for looking down, but I talked to Avery's mom the other night, and I'm actually looking up what she sent me because Avery's going to be at
City Winery next month.
City Winery, yeah. Hey man, you already know everything.
I
was looking up the date here.
I think it's like around March 12th.
It is 16, something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking at. But anyway, yeah, she's definitely going to be at the City Winery. I'm going to try to see if I can make myself available for that. Homegirl and I haven't seen each other in a little while, but being from the same city of Chester, man, that's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. Truly is a wonderful thing. And she's a very, very talented young lady.
She has a great spirit and very gracious and down to earth.
Absolutely.
Met her a few times through the years. Even awarded her with something from the city of Philadelphia from my organization. Her and her husband Dana Johnson they make great music. Will Downing has done a few duets with her, and on one of his albums, about 4 years ago, he releases music every year. He was working on a tribute album to baritone singers, and he was talking about Isaac Hayes. And I said, I know a few Isaac Hayes songs, but not a lot. But I said, you know what? My favorite song by Isaac Hayes is Deja Vu.
Okay.
Because he wrote it for Dionne Warwick.
Okay.
And I was trying to show Will a video of Dionne singing it once with Barry Manilow playing it. And we couldn't find it, but we found a video of her and Isaac Hayes singing it as a duet. So he took that concept, called Avery, and they both remade Deja Vu on his album a few years ago. And it's out there.
Okay.
So he said, thanks for that recommendation.
She's a very talented young lady. She really is.
Yeah.
Very talented. And I have to stick my chest out because she's from the same hometown. Absolutely. What you got, Mar?
Ashley, I'm curious to know, would you be available to join Ali as they come out here to Detroit April 3rd through April 7th of this year?
How about what they say in Hollywood? Have my people call your people and we'll do lunch.
So,
we can talk offline for details.
That'd be between you and Ali.
Yeah,
I thought you were the big spender. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for setting me up with that, Lamar. I appreciate that, man. Really.
Put it right back
really
on.
Diane, go ahead, babe.
Now you sing R&B, but you say your first love is jazz. So do you sing more jazz than R&B?
I would say vice versa. My first love is R&B.
Okay.
And I sang jazz, and I love R&B more.
Okay.
Though I will say that, after recording this particular jazz piece, and starting to fall in love with standards again, I'm not saying I never wanted to do covers, but I'm kind of interested in maybe venturing into that realm a little bit more at some point. Not right now, but at some point. Maybe just having a project of originals or maybe covers. We'll see. I don't want to pay a whole lot of licensing fees, but doing things in that broken down vein of brushes on the drums and upright bass and a grand piano, so
okay. Well, that's more or less, if you do excuse me, correct me if I'm wrong, doing standards, covers, you get more acknowledgement quicker because of the song itself. Fly Me to the Moon. Am I correct?
Yes.
New York. I Wish You Love, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where the notoriety comes in a lot quicker than doing originals. Yes, originals are yours, but they take longer to get out there, if you will. Am I correct on that?
I would say so. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate the time that you have spent with us here. Everybody, I'm going to go around the room and you guys can do your goodbyes and your farewell statements and what have you. Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, I have one more question if I could.
Go ahead. Go ahead with the question.
Ash, Ash, I've read that you also worked on the business side, particularly with Will Downing and some of the others. What kind of advice would you give to up-and-coming artists with regards to publishing and licensing and the business side? Can you talk about how important that is as well?
I think that we're in a point now that anyone getting into the industry has no choice but to learn the business. Google is your friend. Chat GPT will help you, and AI will help you a little bit as well. But it's no reason for anyone to not know the business, and to also not know the proper procedures and processes of the business for whatever endeavor they're trying to go about in it. Artists that came up around the same time of the 60s and 70s didn't have what we have now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
As Ali will know as well, you know, the folks that I know were only taught to go on stage, perform, and that everything else will be taken care of.
Right.
And they missed out on a lot of things that were rightly theirs that others have kind of taken. And I'm saying that in a general, respectful way, you know, unfortunately. And so, you know, a lot of kids now, the whole going viral thing is you know where people are, and I respect that, but they still have to learn the business. You can't just record a song in your bedroom and throw it up on SoundCloud and think that that's the end all be all. You forgot to get it mixed, mastered, copyrights, publishing. You have to learn that stuff. So go learn the business before you jump in it, because this is the most one of the hardest industries in the world. And as Ali's good buddy, you know, told my family members, it's easy to get there, but it's harder to stay.
Absolutely.
And so,
absolutely,
you know, but it's a roller coaster, and I've seen people directly go up and down, and when they're up, things are great, but when they're down, it's not so pretty. So to keep a steady train ride in this thing is not easy, but that's always the goal.
Yeah. Good point. Good question, Drew. Good question.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Very good question, Drew. It's always good to get the perspective of someone who is in the business and to pass it on to those that are listening and those that are trying to get in, because this entertainment business, not only from singing and dancing and acting and whatever, this is a big business here, and it's a lucrative business to a few, just to a few. You know what I mean? But you're absolutely 100% correct. And there's so many other avenues that you could go into, as like being a lawyer, or you know, just so many other different avenues that are still under the entertainment umbrella. Very good advice, Ash. Very good advice.
I mean,
go ahead, Mar.
Ashley was getting ready to say something else.
No, I was just going to add that because I've seen both groups go through so much litigation in their time, that I had to know that this was a business first, because they all have been in court for one thing or another. And I'm trying not to go too deep in that, revealing what both groups went through. However, you know, and still go through. It's you have to kind of, another mentor said, you know, one thing to kind of apply in all aspects of life. Life is about fire prevention versus firefighting.
Yeah.
So handle your business now, so you're not trying to fight for it 20 and 30 years down the line.
Right.
Now, let me just throw a little curve in here, just a little curve. As you have a bit of an upper hand, because you are a singular artist versus a group where you have that, and we're not going to go into a lot of details, where you have that inner fighting, if you will. You know what I mean? Not only with the group, but those are around the group. So you have one advantage by being a singular artist, meaning that nobody is not really looking to take your name and your style and what have you, because it's yours. Am I correct?
Correct. Nobody's trying to start any Ashley Scott reviews. Thank God.
There you go.
Thank God. But I mean, you know, I would say that it's still hard out here, even in today's.
It is.
And it's, you know, while you need a team, it's hard to kind of find people nowadays to fill roles. You know what I mean? I don't think that managers are really managers anymore. I think they're more consultants.
Yeah.
And as far as with me, you're talking to the songwriter, the label owner, the producer, the publicist, the social media person, the booking agent, and the manager, all in one person. So I handle all of my affairs right now.
Right.
Do I recommend it? No, because I wish I could get an agent in here to help me, get on the phone with these venues and get me more work. Or somebody that I could trust to kind of handle that.
That's the operative word there, the trust. That's
right.
the operative word.
Right. And it's hard to kind of trust people. It's not a lot of trustworthy people in the world anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, this is a business that brings out the worst in people anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Good answer. Go ahead, Di.
Mr. Ashley, it was a pleasure talking to you and meeting you, and I hope whatever you do is great.
Thank you, Miss Di. I appreciate you as well.
I didn't ask my question, so can I ask it?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mar.
My question is, what music professor inspired you the most?
All three of them: Kahembe Eichelberger, Webster Lewis, and Grady Tate.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's a great team. It's a great team. It's a great team.
Again, I was blessed. You could have two better than me.
Great team. Yeah, great team. Ash, let me take the time out to say, I'm sorry, you said something?
I was just saying it was a pleasure to speak to you
and
learn a lot that I have learned tonight. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you as well.
Thank you so much, Ashley. I second that emotion.
Thank you, sir.
You are very knowledgeable. Yeah, the corner song. But man, you are very knowledgeable in the music business. I admire you. And again, you got a fan. You just want another fan.
I appreciate you.
Yes. Look forward to other projects, and I wish you the best going forward.
Thank you.
Well, Ash, it's been a pleasure, my brother. We talk often. We'll continue talking. I wish you the very best on your endeavors. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been another version of Music Lovers LTD. Tune in next week and follow me on Facebook, because I'll be able to tell you who our guest is. I can't tell you right at this second. I got a phone call, but I can't tell you just this second until we get it confirmed. But I will tell you that on the last Friday of this month, the 28th, we will have the legendary Mr. William Bell here on this call with us. So be sure and tune in, but follow me on Facebook. We'll be able to tell you what's what. This coming Wednesday, Salt, Pepper Memories, my TV show, Valentine's Day Part 2. Check it out. Thursday night, rememberthenradio.com from 8 until 12. Tonight at 10 o'clock, tune into WPPM 106.5 FM or phillycam.org/listen. From 10 until 2, the oldies are coming your way. Everybody have a great weekend. Thank you, Marv. We'll talk soon. Drew, thank you much. Diane, love you much. Ashley, thank you, my brother. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate you.
Please go to my website, ashleyscottmusic.com, and get all the music.
All right.
Say it again. Say it again, Ash.
Go to Ashley Scott Music, ASHLEYSCOTTMUSIC.com. AshleyScottMusic.com to get all the music.
There you go. There you go. All right, we're headed out.
So,
thank you, Ash.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Take care, everybody. Good night.
Good night.